Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new Pick a Side live reaction. We were not here last night because the Timberwolves and the Warriors game was a snooze fest, and we thought that tonight we'll just recap all three games: OKC and Denver, Cleveland and Indiana, and Minnesota and Golden State. Riv is here with the shades on. How are you feeling? How's your night been?
Feel good. Came from my son's birthday party, so I'm feeling good about that for sure. Happy birthday to him. Another exciting night of basketball. I mean, we've just been getting nonstop great hoops for the most part. Um, it's just been from round ones to round two, just spectacular basketball. And we just got a great game that went down to overtime. Had a little bit of a snooze fest. Exciting to hear what you have to say about Donovan Mitchell tonight. Another big game, and your boy Hallie kind of stunk it up. But for the most part, we got good hoops. So I'm excited to be here.
We did get great basketball games. Donovan Mitchell did go off, but we have to talk about the game that just finished: OKC versus the Denver Nuggets. Now, OKC, 68-win team,
Yep.
easily the big favorite coming into this series, the number one seed, and back-to-back losses that they've had. Not game two, because game two they blew the Nuggets out, but in close games, back-to-back losses for them. But this was the most jarring one. I don't know how to encapsulate what I just witnessed from OKC. OKC had one of the biggest meltdowns in the fourth quarter and overtime that I've seen. In the fourth quarter, SGA went 1 for 8. His process the entire quarter was off. Every shot felt a little short, but the very last shot he took, it felt like he was fishing for a foul, like he was foul baiting on the very last shot attempt. It was a very bad miss. Jokic doesn't have a good fourth quarter, but he redeems himself in overtime. The Nuggets supporting cast came up big, but in overtime, OKC's offense, not enough ball movement, very isocentric. If there was no pass made, there was like at least one pass made in their offensive approach. It was just terrible overall. They just had no plan whatsoever. You could see that Mark Daignault was scrambling with, should he just have one big out there? Should he go double big? He didn't want to sit Lou Dort at all. It felt like he had to absolutely be there no matter what on the court. And the series is far from over, so we can't jump the gun here, but Denver just feels like they are more poised in these big time moments. You can trust them more in these big time moments, and the offensive execution for OKC was the most baffling thing that I think we saw from them all year.
Yeah, it was. First of all, it was a back and forth game. I want to start by saying that we had a great game for the most part. Both teams giving up high powered offenses. It got a little nasty in the third, a little bit of the fourth, where you saw a lot of turnovers. The refs were kind of letting them play after. I'm sure you saw game two. Everybody was complaining about how the refs were treating OKC and stuff like that. Excuse me. So you saw a bit of a back and forth. I felt like the tide changed for OKC when Mark Dadno he called that challenge on that play that was clearly a foul by Hartenstein. And from there, you just saw bad execution to bad execution to bad execution from OKC. Like nothing they were doing on offense gave me the confidence that they were going to win that game. I mean, late, like you mentioned, late in the game, you saw experience and, continuity take over with Denver. It just felt like they knew what to do. They knew their go-to, Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic. I know he didn't have it going. He had probably one of his worst playoff games in his career tonight. But you saw late in the game, he was able to figure out some things, work the pick and roll. Same thing with Jamal Murray. Aaron Gordon comes up clutch again with another big time shot. And then those guys getting big time defensive stops. And then shout out to Michael Porter Jr., how he was able to be composed in those big time moments, able to get some clutch shots. For OKC, it just felt a lot harder on that end to generate good looks. You saw a few times SGA was able to get 2 feet into the paint, have a kick out. He was able to move the ball a few times. Alex Caruso, I thought was big in the third quarter. I would have went with him down in the closing stretches. He was huge for them. Lou Dortz, like you mentioned, he just didn't have it going. And I felt like OKC in overtime, they just got locked up. Like their process was not there. Denver was able to crack down. It felt like Denver figured them out defensively. And I felt like they should have went to J-Dub a little bit more. SGA didn't have it going. And I thought J Dub did, but it felt like every possession down the stretch was a SJ ISO, and Christian Brown was able to, have a great defensive night, but specifically the second half. OKC just felt very repetitive in the way they went about their offense, especially late in the game. There was no adjustments or nothing, in Denver seemed to just sit on all the drives, compact the paint. And that's how they won the game. And Denver's offense was just grooving late in the game. This is a big time win. 1-1 after getting thrashed in Oklahoma City in game 2. You come home, you handle business in the clutch against, like you mentioned, a 60-win team. The experience took over, the veteranship of this team took over. And, shout out to Denver because they are proving that, they were slept on all playoffs. People felt like they were done, us included. And they have just completely, even though it is only 2-1, like you mentioned, the series isn't over. They have completely shown that they still have that moxie, that championship experience and veteranship to get it done.
I agree with you. I think that OKC really just showed that their offensive approach down the stretch, they really have no plan. OKC's loss is going to overshadow what was Jalen Williams' best offensive playoff game of his career. 32 points, 52% from the field, and 43% from the three. He was awesome, and he showed up in the fourth quarter in a way that you'd have liked SGA to show up in the fourth quarter. But J Dub and OKC's offensive approach, it there was so much isolation, so little ball movement. In overtime, I was left scratching my head the most because it either felt like it was an SGA or J Dub isolation. And as soon as they drove to the basket and the defense collapsed, they had no plan. They made a pass to Hartenstein, and we saw two possessions that ended in a Hartenstein shot that was way outside of the rim and the interior. And those are the shots that you want if you're Denver. You want Isaiah Hartenstein to shoot the ball with the game on the line and in clutch time minutes. And then we saw possessions where J Dub spun into a turnover, where SGA slipped, where he got caught in traffic and made a pass to Chet, and it was a little bit high. Just everything felt really tight for them. Everything felt like they were a little bit loose with the moment. And my first thought after this game ended is number one, I think Denver has a real chance. I think we kind of understood that after game one with how they won that game. Because if it's a close game, I feel like we're all trusting Denver to come away with that. So that's their motto. Keep it close against OKC. They'll beat themselves. That's how it feels right now. But the first thought I had was if OKC loses in the playoffs in back-to-back years in the second round, the regular season for them from here on out is going to be meaningless. They won 68 games this past year. They were the first seed. They were the first seed last year. So back-to-back seasons where they're the first seed. This year, they were number one in net rating, tied with the Chicago Bulls in the 90s. We're talking about a dynasty. That's how good OKC's net rating was. They had the best defense in the NBA. There are some content creator friends of ours, Riv, that have said this is the best defense that they've seen ever in their life. They got so much praise just for last year to lose to a Dallas Mavericks team that was a heavy underdog, and to this year lose to a heavy underdog in the Denver Nuggets. If OKC does not win this series from here on out, we are not taking what they do in the regular season seriously. It's all about the playoffs for us, and nobody is going to care.
Yeah, this goes back to the conversation we had last summer, I want to say, or at least early in the year, where I believe me and you were on the same page, where we thought if OKC makes the WCF and they lose to a team like Dallas or something, with Luka, we wouldn't consider it a failure. We consider it still losing a tough series to an elite team at that same caliber. Hey, John.
Hello, boys.
John is here.
What's up, dude?
I've been backstage listening to y'all. Just had some Wi-Fi issues. Glad to be here, though.
New camera, John?
It's not the camera yet.
Okay,
I think
nice.
the lighting's better. I still got the HD piece.
Nice. Okay, it looks great, John. All right, keep going, Riv.
Yeah, John, you look handsome, bro. Shout out to the win too. Yeah, but we had a conversation where we were thinking like, if OKC makes the WCF and they lose to one of those teams on their level, we wouldn't see it as a failure. But now we're sitting here second round, 60 wins, like you mentioned, back-to-back second-round exits, you definitely start to look at that Giannis trade and or look at the Devin Booker or the Kevin Durant of the world, and you start thinking maybe these guys aren't going to be as untouchable as we thought. Like, and I know this team is extremely young. This team would be the youngest team in NBA history to win a championship if they do win the championship. But like we've mentioned, time is precious in the NBA. You can have a dynasty at one point and then you can lose it all in the next moment, or you could just never win. We've seen it happen a few times, and you're sitting here now with this extremely young team. You have a lot of tradable assets. You can't go out in the second round after having a historic regular season. You just can't. So if they do lose this series, we're definitely thinking regular season meaningless. But what does it look like in the offseason? Like, do they pull the trigger on one of those big time stars? Do they go make a move? How are the talks going to look like with SGA as a number one? Can he lead them to a championship? J-Dub and Chet, because SGA has been, up and down this playoff series. He hasn't been what you wanted. Well, in playoffs in general, he hasn't been what you wanted him to be. So those are going to be all question marks coming up in the offseason if they lose the series.
Definitely. And I feel like to build off what you said before, Joel, late in this game, the last couple of games, it seemed like there's been a stagnant aspect of the Thunder offense because they don't have enough playmaking. And that's led to them playing heavily out of isolation. And in today's game, you see Shea struggling in that aspect, being able to create. And I felt Christian Brown defended very well. And as this game goes on, it feels like it's more so a your turn, my turn approach between J-Dub, who has a fantastic game, and Shea, to where the Thunder offense hasn't been consistent enough, and we've seen this the last two postseasons, to where a lot of those role players and secondary shot makers are not hitting the shots they were in the regular season. They're not finding the same rhythm. And I feel like when you look at Denver, who today, Jokic plays another poor game for his standards, goes 0 of 10 from three-point land, didn't have the touch. It was different for Denver because everyone else is getting involved, shout out to MPJ, and all of them are finding a rhythm to support and elevate him. But it feels like in all of these games, Chet Holmgren today goes 1 of 6 from 3. Isaiah Hartenstein goes 5 of 14. We're struggling consistently in floater range. None of those guys are finding a consistent enough rhythm because their half-court offense has been dependent on Shea being an MVP caliber scorer consistently. And when you get into these playoff settings, I felt like Shea would be better and more consistent than he has been, but we are starting to see that they need a little bit more playmaking, and they should be running more through their bigs in that aspect where of game 2 it worked pretty well, but I feel like when you look at this team moving into the offseason, it's more a matter of internal development for these guys as decision makers. I think we saw this a few years ago at Boston back from 2018 to 2022 before they got back to the finals a year ago. And so right now for Oklahoma City, they do feel like kind of a victim of their own success where the regular season has an expectation, which is championship or bust for people. But in reality, I don't feel like they're there yet. And a lot of players on this team still need more experience. And the biggest stat that I'll take away from this season, the Thunder played 24 games in clutch. That is the least in the NBA. The Nuggets, on the other hand, played more than 37. And when you look at Denver over the years, it took them time and a lot of in-game reps to figure it out in these clutch, gotta-have situations where it's a 5-point game of 5 or less minutes. The Thunder haven't had as much experience in that aspect. And I feel like until they get that, you're going to see there's a clear rigidity in them compared to a Denver team that has been here so many times. It feels like they're able to problem solve their way through a poor Jokic game, whereas the Thunder, of course, could not tonight.
I mean, they've blown out so many teams in the regular season. They washed them away, and they don't have as much experience as Denver in clutch games. In the regular season, OKC shot 37.4% from three. In the playoffs, they're at 32.9% from three. I can't be the only one that feels like they still lack elite level shooting. There's still a ton of players that defenses are more than okay with leaving open on the perimeter. And I feel like it really hurts their offense in these moments where we see in the clutch where SGA or J-Dub are trying to drive in and they're met with 3 to 4 bodies in the paint because everybody is just collapsed. This team does still feel young. They are young. They still feel inexperienced. And in these moments, I just trust Denver more. SGA has not played that well these playoffs from an efficiency standpoint. He's averaging 28, 7, and 7, but he's shooting below 30% from three, 43% from the field. He hasn't been his normal regular season self in the playoffs thus far.
Yeah, he's struggled. It's funny because even J Dub had a great game, but I still felt like those were some tough ass shots. that he were just hitting. I thought Denver was playing really good defense. When is Chet going to wake up? I think that's something. He's been up and down too. Like you mentioned, 1 for 6 from the 3-point line. He's one of the guys that's expected to stretch out the offense, be one of their best 3-point shooters. And like you mentioned, this team still has guys like Case and Wallace, Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, guys you don't really respect too much on the 3-point line. I know Lou Dort shot a really good percentage this year, but you still give them that leeway of, all right, we're going to live or die by those threes regardless. And I think OKC, they're just in a tricky spot because, like you mentioned, John, like I think we're all on the same page where the experience is lacking mightily, and we thought bringing in Hartenstein, bringing in Caruso, those would up the experience a little bit more. But even Hartenstein doesn't have a ton of experience. It was really just last year, and I believe like 1 year with the Clippers. I think it was last year where he really got all that experience. And Caruso is probably the one lone guy that has deep playoff championship level experience. And that's the guy you kind of sat down the stretch of the game for Lou Dort. So I thought Caruso was playing much better than Lou Dort specifically in the second half. So Mark is also another guy who lacks that experience as a coach and has to get better because he's also, I feel like he's shown his age. He's shown his experience in these playoffs. We were the same way how we were calling this team elite. People were calling Mark Dagnall an elite coach, and I don't think he's shown that either.
Yeah. The decision to not have Chet in the game to start overtime felt questionable because it kind of allowed the Nuggets to get going and get consistent looks in the defensive end where even if Chet's not having a good offensive game, they need him out there in those key spots. On top of that, there have been a few challenge calls. Games 1, Game 3, they've been questionable. I feel like Mark Dagnall is a great regular season coach, but much like maybe a Tyronn Lue in Cleveland, it will take him some years and multiple playoff runs because we kind of forget last year was their first taste of the postseason. And like you highlighted, this team, and I feel like we talked about this a little bit in the last Game 1 recap specifically, because I don't remember talking about them after Game 2. They definitely lack that kind of enforcer and connector combo that every kind of deep playoff team needs. And when they signed Isaiah Hartenstein to a 3-year, $87 million deal this summer, that was supposed to be iHeart. But it does feel like right now he is not shooting well enough on those floaters, which on the Knicks last year, it felt like automatic offense. It's kind of like Zubats in the last round where you're able to go to him in those second side actions, and he was able to score consistently finish plays. Until he's able to do that, or Chet Holmgren's making his threes, and you can count on that offense to the 5, it just feels like there's a duality of you don't have enough finishing in the front court, and you don't have quite enough playmaking in the backcourt. And until they can kind of combine those two things, gradually develop them, it feels a little bit like a clunky fit. I want to ask, because I feel like we don't give enough credit to Denver. Do you feel like Denver defensively is not getting enough appreciation for the third day shot 24% from 3? I believe it was below 40% from the field, 38%. Is Denver's defense not getting enough credit to you, Joel?
It's not. I think in the first round series against the Clippers, an offense that I think was a great offense, they stifled Harden's pick and roll after Game 2, and he wasn't able to get to his spots at all. Aaron Gordon played fantastic defense on Kawhi Leonard, making every single shot very tough and making it a contested look. And now in round 2 so far, they're up 2-1. OKC has not shot well from 3. A lot of that is to do with how well Denver's closing out. And another reason for that is Aaron Gordon's defense on SGA down the stretch of this game. His physical presence was able to stifle him on drives. And whenever we got OKC drives, they collapse well. I think Denver is playing with an increased level of tenacity on that end of effort. And that was their biggest question mark coming into the postseason, because in the regular season, we saw all year long, they did not play with that same energy or passion on the defensive side of the ball, but they have flipped a switch in these playoffs. And when you have an offensive hub like Jokic, who is an elite offensive hub who can generate a good quality look on any single offensive possession, and you have a defense behind that that is good enough to be a top 10 unit, we're talking about a legit championship contending team, and Denver is showing that right now.
Yeah, they're peaking late. That's really what it is. They're peaking late. They're peaking at the right time. They beat a pretty scrappy, really good Clippers team in 7 games. Went out in really good, convincing fashion, beating the brakes off them Game 7. And then they come out, they beat in Game 1, persevere and prevail in that one, lose Game 2, but now you come out here at home, set a standard, set a tone, beat OKC, one of the best teams in the league. I think Denver, like you mentioned, is playing with an added confidence, and it's credit to their coach credit to the best player in the world and the Joker, Jamal Murray. He's played great in this series. Aaron Gordon has just turned it up a different level. Michael Porter Jr. is playing through it. It's just everybody's playing with a chip on their shoulder. And even Peyton Watson is giving you quality, solid minutes. Russell Westbrook is playing well. Christian Brown, like they have their 7 guys, and I think that's important. Like they've been trying to figure out outside of their starting 5 who's going to be the next 2, 3, 4. And I think in the playoffs specifically, Westbrook and Peyton Watson have clearly been the 2 guys for them.
Peyton Watson has been huge. He was great in this game. He had 7 points. John, not only do I think the defense is not getting enough credit, I think the supporting cast as a whole is not getting enough credit.
Oh, not at all.
I tweeted this out, and people are going to take it in whatever way they want to take it, but I think we can't say that Jokic has a bad supporting cast. I've seen a superstar these playoffs with a bad supporting cast. His name is Giannis Antetokounmpo. That is a dog shit supporting cast with nothing. Like, there's no, even with him playing Superman, they had no chance. Jokic, these playoffs, has had 3 games where he shot the ball very poorly. The Nuggets won all 3 of those games. All 3. Aaron Gordon has stepped up in a big way. Jamal Murray, yeah, he's having his inefficiencies, but he's also having his blow-up games. He had 43 points in the first round series. In this game, in game 3, he had 27 points against the first-ranked defense in the NBA. MPJ is inconsistent, but he's going to give you those games eventually. And Christian Brown, he's always bringing in defense and energy on that end. I just feel like Denver's supporting cast, it's not much different from the team that won the NBA championship. We're removing a couple of players, KCP and Bruce Brown, players that actually really mattered. But KCP is basically replaced by Christian Brown, who has evolved in this starting role, and Bruce Brown is replaced by Russell Westbrook. Like, this team is similar, and they're peaking, like Riv mentioned, at the right time.
Would you dare to say they're a well-oiled machine?
They are, John. They are. They're a well-oiled machine, John.
I feel like you said before, the play of Aaron Gordon has been remarkable. And I feel like last year in Boston, it was Drew Holiday who could do no wrong on either end of the floor. Tonight, Aaron Gordon goes 7 of 11 from the field, 22 points, plus 15, highest in the team, 5 assists, and he's consistent. 4-6 from three-point land. His development from beyond the arc, and Jay Bills was talking about in the broadcast, him kind of removing, getting rid of that hitch in his jump shot. It's felt like they alleviated that pressure on him. The regular season shoots a career high from 3. Today he goes a perfect 4-4 from the foul line, and he's hitting key 3 throws to cut it from a 4 to a 2-point deficit, or a 2 to a tie game. And then, of course, Michael Porter Jr. has struggled a lot this postseason. You're not going to get any flack from me when you're playing to a shoulder sprain, and you maybe shouldn't be out there. And so for him to barely be able to really lift up that left shoulder as a shooter, and someone who's taking tough shots at weird angles, for him to go 7 of 10 from the field today, it's another testament. 8 rebounds to why you pay these guys the big bucks, why Jamal Murray makes $35 million, why MPJ makes 36, or the other way around. Those guys and that core of the starting lineup, Christian Brown defensively on Shea, they have elevated their level of play in the regular season, where it didn't feel like the message was resonating. And I do believe there's something too, and I hated the move at first. David Allen has gotten this group to be locked in and engaged. I think it's in the eye of the beholder. You can argue whether or not they would have been able to do this with Michael Malone, but I do believe David Allen deserves credit for being able to steer the ship and really kind of galvanize a team that, of course, a month and a half ago, didn't feel like they're getting the same level of effort, concentration, or consistency. And it's a testament to how well they're playing that Nikola Jokic can go 0 of 10 from three-point land. He still had 16 rebounds, still had 6 assists, 8 turnovers. Last 2 games averaging 7. And they've still won. I mean, last game was kind of a shit show after the first quarter, let alone. But in games like this, I think it was game 5 in Los Angeles, where Jamal Murray puts 43 points when Jokic is struggling. I think that's why Denver is the best chance right now, it feels, to go up into the conference finals and potentially make a finals run. Because you saw the T-Wolves last year beat them. But I feel like if you're getting this version of Jamal Murray and this version of Aaron Gordon, I would take them to beat the T-Wolves, but I'm not going to get ahead of myself. I apologize.
T-Wolves got lucky, man.
Minnesota is the best possible matchup.
They got lucky.
If they play Denver. Minnesota has gotten Denver's number recently.
Don't get me wrong, but I feel like this is the best chance they've had compared to last year. Felt like things are a little bit off. This season, I do believe that's their best team since the finals run 2023. So I feel like with the way they're playing right now, they have as good of a chance as Minnesota. And this Oklahoma City team, I'm not going to overlook. It's still 2-1 series. And I think game 4 they can easily tie it up because they're a 68-win team in their own right.
Minnesota got lucky, man. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh yeah, they got so lucky.
They got lucky.
Oh yeah, they got
Steph
so
got hurt.
lucky.
Yeah, Steph got hurt, man.
Anthony Edwards got hurt last game.
He came back.
Exactly. So tell Steph to come back.
It's a hamstring. You was crying about Hallie's.
Harden came back, grade 2 hamstring, played in the playoffs. Still,
never came
back.
but he did. But he did.
He played like
he wanted to win.
They lost.
He wanted to win. He's a true winner.
They lost.
All right, so
he
tried.
Played terrible.
He gave it his best.
He didn't help him at all.
All right, he gave it his best. That's all you can ask for.
Steph ain't doing it.
All right. Well, no, Minnesota's they're in a good position right now. But Cleveland and Indiana, moving on to the next series. Cleveland beat Indiana 126-104. The series is now 2-1. They are still down in this series, but they got some reinforcements. Darius Garland came back. Evan Mobley came back. Donovan Mitchell was once again great, 43 points in this game. He's averaging 41, 6, and 6. For the series, he's been unbelievable downhill. We got a comment in the chat right now. I'm reading. Well, what happened to the Pacers, Joel? What happened is they lost. They're up 2-1. They lost. You move on to the next. Halliburton didn't play well. Pascal Siakam did not play well. I thought the Pacers offense, outside of a late stretch in the first quarter and a late stretch in the third quarter, was stagnant. They were unable to generate quality shots, and they weren't able to bust the zone that the Cavaliers ran all game long. I thought that zone defense really stagnated their offense, and they weren't able to generate the same quality shots that they were in the previous games. I think a big reason for that they played zone, number one, is because Garland has a bad toe. You don't want him to chase people around man to man. But a big reason why is because usually when you try to exploit these zone defenses, you're passing the ball in the middle, and the player in the middle is supposed to make a decision on where he should go with the ball next. The problem with that is once you pass that ball to the middle of the floor, you are met with Evan Mobley right in front of your face. So it basically just takes away any opportunity at a shot at a rim or a good mid-range jump shot that you can have. And they had some lengthy wings out there to defend those corners and those wings from the Pacers on a three-point line. So the Pacers offense just felt a lot of like what OKC's offense was down the stretch of Denver's games, just a lot of isolation basketball. Cleveland really forced them to play a particular style of basketball that they don't play usually. So I'm excited to see how Indiana bounces back and adjusts to that aspect of it. But Cleveland was awesome. And I think Darius Garland, even in his limited minutes, made a huge impact with his playmaking. Donovan Mitchell had much more catch and shoot 3 opportunities, and the whole team for that matter. For some reason, Ty Jerome's basketball skills completely wiped away over the last 2 games. He was just a non-factor today, and he was forcing a lot of things, and he didn't play much because of that. But Evan Mobley came up big. Jared Allen was really good. Max Drew set a tone. I just thought overall, Cleveland set a tone from the first minute of this game, out rebounding, out hustling. Indiana hitting more shots than him. And then Donovan Mitchell, he's just unstoppable. There's no way that Indiana can stop him in this series if they're going to play man. They have to play some type of zone defense just to stop these downhill drives. There really is no way. And we've already seen this 3-game sample size now in this series. There is no way they can have anybody stay in front of Donovan Mitchell. He's been that much of a force getting to the rim and being a downhill scorer.
They don't have a rim protector. That's also a big thing. Like Donovan Mitchell, not only is he getting 2 feet into the paint, but like he's finishing everything. I mean, like there is no resistance. It's either a made layup or a foul or and one. Like there's
some finishes are ridiculous though.
Yeah, I agree. It's really just nothing. Indiana has shown they've sent 2 at the ball. They've tried to double on pick and rolls. You know, he's splitting pick. Like Donovan Mitchell is literally like on his D Wade shit right now, where he's just getting to the rim at will, dominating the paint. Anybody in front of him was Neesmith, Nembhard, Benedict Mathurin. He's taken any one of them, and he's just going to the hole. They can't stop him. The 3-ball hasn't been falling this series, and he's just decided, you know what? I'm just going to continue to go to the rim. The boys are back, man. The boys are back, and I say the boys are back in being Cleveland's healthy, and I think that is the most important part. You know, I think Cleveland being healthy really helps them out. Darius Garland being out there, like you mentioned, Joel, just gives them another ball handler, somebody else who can make plays out the pick and roll, who can make plays for others and himself. You know, we saw a lot of that Donovan Mitchell being gassed in game 1 and game 2 because they just don't have another ball handler. I'm glad that you mentioned Max Strus, because same way how Aaron Gordon has been remarkable for Denver, Max Strus in this series has been incredible in my eyes. He has just brought a different type of tenacity, a different type of defensive effort. He's brought energy. He's brought that type of experience that you want on the team. You know, he's been great for them. And he's been hitting the 3-ball at least the last 2 games. He's been one of their guys. He stepped up his game big time. And he's been one of their main vocal points as a role player. Ty Jerome hasn't been big, but Max Strus has stepped his game up mightily. And then you have Jared Allen, who was able to hold the fort down. His twin tower brother, Evan Mobley, was back today. You had DeAndre Hunter back today. You get a sense of relief that you get your guys, like you have your guys back. So now you get to play at your speed. You get to play your pace. Now you get to play your natural. Because when you don't have your players, certain things in your playbook you can't do because you don't have the type of players. Certain defenses you can't run, like you mentioned, that zone defense. It's not as effective with Allen in the middle as opposed to Mobley. He's just a lot more quicker on his feet, a lot more mobile. Now you have both of them. You have the Twin Towers. You have Darius Garland, another ball handler. It just makes the game a lot different. Now, like you mentioned, that zone really flustered Indiana's offense. I thought Indiana has been generating a shit ton of good looks. They've been loving to get in transition. I felt like tonight, Cleveland just made them a little bit more uncomfortable on defense. They were in their face. They weren't letting them get too much into their air pocket. They wasn't letting a lot of open looks that they've been letting. This could be a 2-1 series if they didn't choke last game. And I think Cleveland is looking at themselves in the locker room like game 4 is a big opportunity to tie this up 2-2. We can't spoil that opportunity. You know, you get another couple of days of rest for Darius Garland's foot. And this is important. And I think Donovan Mitchell has been amazing. I think it doesn't go unnoticed what he's been able to do against this Indiana defense. Granted, Indiana's defense isn't this elite, stout defense, but what he's been able to do has been child's play, and I think he's been able to carry this team. And now you have an opportunity to tie the series game 4 with the boys back. Indiana, on the flip side, I think just has to get back to what they were doing game 1 and game 2, have a counter for that zone. They have an opportunity to go up 3-1. They've shown they can win on the road. This will be huge for Indiana if they can get that game 4 back.
Absolutely. It felt like the Cavs came out with a huge sense of urgency today. I mean, when you start off down 0-2 and you get Evan Mobley and DeAndre Hunter back, Mobley today finished with six stocks. And then to go on top of that, I mean, Donovan Mitchell, like you guys kind of highlighted, he's not going to really get stopped at all in this series. It feels like 43 points today. Goes 5 of 13 from three-point land, which is a lot better, but he's been able to get to the rim whenever he wants, and Miles Turner just hasn't been agile enough to really stop him. And I feel like the other thing for Cleveland, too, is you look at the supporting cast. When you have everyone healthy, the pieces just fall in the line a lot better. Today, they only made 29% of their threes, but like you highlighted, Max Strus, Sam Merrill goes 1 of 5 from three-point land today. You can kind of count on those guys to shoot better now that Garland's back in the mix, but I feel like Garland today moved fine. It was more a matter of him picking up 4 fouls in the first half. That was something which took him out of the game, and it put the onus on Mitchell to take over and run the offense entirely, and he did. And I feel like moving forward for the rest of the series, they're going to have to start to – I don't think Garland's getting in foul trouble again in the way that he did today. I think they're going to have to find Garland in some sort of rhythm to win this series, because for as great as Mitchell has been, I don't expect Tyrese Halliburton to go 2 of 8 the way he did today. Andrew Nembhard going 4 of 9. The Pacers are a great offense. They're going to figure it out. And I feel like at a certain point, you're going to need the rest of the Cavaliers' offense to start to click. So it was a great game, but you're still down 2-1, and you're on the road. So I think the Cavs need to build off that sense of urgency in game 4.
We know for sure Halliburton's not going to have another game like this.
I hope not.
I would hope not.
They showed a graphic of his points next to D. Mitch's. It was pretty embarrassing.
One is a point guard, one is a shooting guard.
Right. I mean,
different responsibilities, Riff.
4 points to 40, brother. I don't think you can try to finesse that anyway, you know?
Don't forget how you felt after game 2 when he hit that game winner.
D. Mitch had 40 that game.
Yeah. And who won the game?
You got me.
Got some luck, some help from the refs, too.
Oh, some help from the refs, John.
I mean, they literally didn't call a lane violation on a 3 throw.
Violation. This is off basketball, buddy.
I haven't heard them call that call in so long. It's like
it should be a
box
much
out
topic. I'll tell you that.
Box out, John.
Yeah, I mean, letting guys get a free lane violation in the last few
I saw a
seconds of the game,
comment.
leading to a game winner is questionable, but
I saw somebody comment it was D Mitch's fault. Why didn't he take the top assignment? And I'm like, dude, when does he ever take the top assignment? Like that's just
He
not his fault.
definitely got that offensive foul, though. Was that a bad call, John?
Nah, that was a good call.
I'm just talking about the blatant lane violation.
You throw that
Okay.
elbow, that's offensive.
Okay.
That's
Now, we didn't talk about this game last night because we didn't go live, but Minnesota and Golden State. Minnesota won 117-93. It's going to be tough for Golden State to win without Steph Curry. Steve Kerr had a 13-man rotation out there in game two. He's just throwing things at the wall to see what sticks. And Kuminga played somewhat well, so he's probably somebody that's probably going to be in the rotation moving forward because he's one of their only athletes that can actually put the ball in the basket and maybe collapse the defense somewhat. But overall, I think if they need to have a chance, Jimmy Butler has to be much more aggressive and not being so passive. They need him to be more aggressive as a scorer. But my biggest takeaway from this game was just on the Timberwolves side of it. Anthony Edwards left and thought he was seriously injured, but he came back like he always does. Really, the two stars of the show, Julius Randle, 24, 7, and 11 in this game. I think Julius Randle continues to have a phenomenal playoffs, and he's just proven how good and valuable he can be in this setting with his bully ball, with his shot making at his size, his handle, getting downhill, his passing. I mean, 11 assists in this game is just unbelievable. And then Jaden McDaniels having 16 points, 7 for 10, just very efficient, doing his thing. And then off the bench with Nickeil Alexander-Walker having 20 and Nas having 11. I just think that overall the Timberwolves are able to get so many contributions from different players on this team. But I think the rejuvenation of Julius Randle and him finally playing well in the playoffs gives this team a ceiling that many didn't think they had because nobody expected Randle to play at this high of a level.
Yeah, you saw game one, Golden State kind of put the clamps on Minnesota. So you expected Minnesota to come out and respond in game two, and they did exactly that. Even then, I still thought in that game, Golden State didn't play terrible. They had a run late in the third, I want to say, where they brought it back down to like I think they were down 2 or 3 at some point, and they made it a close game. And then Steve Kerr completely subbed out that lineup that got them back in the game, subbed out a whole new 4 or 5 man, and they blew the game again, and that was the end of it. Like you mentioned, Joel, he's playing 13 guys, trying to see what sticks. When you lose Steph Curry, it completely alters everything. Like everything that works in your offense. Draymond Green becomes less fundamentally sound on offense. Jimmy Butler now props up to the number one. Now Buddy Hield is like your second best. Like it's just everything doesn't fall in line, and now you're missing the guy who generates damn near every open look for 90% of the roster. The Draymond handoffs don't work as much as they used to. The pick and roll isn't as sound because who is he's pick and rolling with? You know what I'm saying? So, like you mentioned, for them to even have a chance, they have to put on, like game one, another defensive masterclass, which I think with Steph off the floor, you can do that because Steph isn't, this elite defender or nothing like that. But it's just offensively, what are you going to do? Like, how are you going to find your funk? I think Minnesota has enough tools in their box to where offensively they can get it going. With Warriors, your defense can carry you, but then late in the clutch, it's going to be really hard unless you go up. Like in that first game, Golden State won every quarter but the fourth. So it was important that they won quarters 1, 2, and 3. They built up the lead so where they don't have to go into clutch time without Steph Curry. And I think you have an opportunity here. It's going to be a tough one. You have to get one. Steph is planning on coming back potentially game 6. You have to get one at home, but it's going to be super, super hard. But for game 2, Minnesota came out. They punched them in the mouth, came out and set a tone. They lost a big lead a little bit late, but then responded with another big lead. Like you mentioned, Ant-Man was able to come back. He seems fine to go, and I think that's really important. We don't want to lose no injured guys. Randall played amazing, and I think that's exactly what you wanted.
Yeah, it feels like the Warriors, like you said, Riv, the entire chemistry of the team just completely changes when you don't have Steph because they don't have enough shooting. It's Buddy Hield and everyone else. Quinn Post this postseason and Moses Moody are both making 30% of their threes. AirPods or Brandon Pajemski's making 32%. Without Steph in the lineup, it's really just Buddy Hield who can space the floor and get through respective defenses to a point where comes down to Jimmy Butler having one of those blow-up playoff games like he did versus the Grizzlies in the play-in, if the Warriors are going to push this to Game 6. I felt like even though Minnesota in Game 5 missed 43s, the way that the Warriors won Game 1 largely was based off of how poorly Minnesota shot, and it's hard to rely on that for the rest of the series. So I feel like moving forward for the rest of the series, it's going to come down to Buddy Hield and Jimmy Butler playing at that same level. This would give the Warriors enough time for Steph to come back in a little bit over a week. But until then, there's just really not a whole lot of ways they can problem solve, because this team, it was based off of really their top three. And then once you get past those guys, it's not like many of these guys can really step up beyond maybe Jonathan Kuminga. And even then, it's like, how does he fit in with Jimmy and Dre?
I'm looking at the clutch stats in the playoffs right now for star players, for players that have taken over 10 field goal attempts in the clutch in the playoffs.
This season?
Yes, this season. Tyrese Halliburton is number one at 42.9%. Brunson is 2 at 40.6%, and he has 32 attempts in the clutch. The second closest is Halliburton at 14 attempts in the clutch. He's taking a lot of attempts in the clutch. Jamal Murray's at 36.4%. Cade Cunningham's at 33.3%. Jokic is at 30.8%. Russell Westbrook is at 30%. He has 10 field goal attempts in the clutch. Jason Tatum is at 20%. And SGA is at 18.2%. 2 for 11. He is dead last.
Not ideal. Definitely not ideal.
Yep. Out of 8 players that have taken 10 or more field goal attempts in the clutch, SGA is last at 18%. Right.
That's not. SGA got to wake up, man. He's got to wake up. He's probably going to win MVP too. So this is definitely, if he doesn't wake up, summer's going to be rough for him.
And I think the Aaron Gordon matchup is tough. Last year in the playoffs, according to Second Spectrum, SGA only scored 2 points in 25 matchups when guarded by PJ Washington. So PJ Washington had the better of him in their matchups when he guarded him, and Aaron Gordon stylistically is very similar as a defender. So I think that type of physicality is something that you can match SGA with. So they have to figure it out. They have to be much better in Game 4. Jay Greedo goes, Tatum fans winning tonight, shaking my head.
I mean, it's ironic that we've spoken so much about Tim playing poorly, and then the following nights, Shea and Jokic both lay an egg. And it's their supporting cast giving them a chance. Or Jokic is more so, of course.
Yeah. RJ the God, I cooked up a parlay for today and tomorrow. I took D Mitch over 30 points, Cavs -10, Nuggets money line, and Celtics money line. Sorry, Morin.
He might cook.
Yeah, this might bang. Freeholder 33. Do SGA how you did Tatum, Joel. Glad you're back, Riv. How did I do Tatum? I don't remember, honestly. I don't. I think I was pretty hard on SGA today. No excuses. Truck Zone goes, how funny would it be if SGA gets MVP then knocked out by Jokic in the second round? Would people ever take his MVP seriously?
They should.
It's a regular season war
on your 71 team.
It is a regular season.
The MVP is about the regular season. And for so long, people would use that to demerit Nikola Jokic until he finally did get to the NBA Finals and win a championship. So I think it's kind of unfair to set that precedent for stars in the future, too.
Jacob Fruity goes, don't hide from Tyrese mid game today. That wasn't a mid game. It was a terrible game. It wasn't mid. Mid is like 15 and 8.
That's his averages.
No, it's not.
That's not the averages.
Nope.
Sorry, 18 and 7.
Nope.
19 and 10.
So 15 and 8.
Last year, 21 and 11, pretty much. Yeah.
All right.
With disrespect to Halliburton, you better hope he doesn't close the series out against you guys, man.
You guys trying to make it seem like 15 and 8 is the big ass difference killed me.
It is a big difference.
I mean, 15 and 19 points per game is a pretty big difference.
No, it is not.
Yes,
it's
it
4
is.
points. That's a
4
difference.
points is 4 free throws. 2 layups.
Buckets. Yeah.
All right.
For
if you really want to play that game, 4 points the difference between the 7th and the 15th best offense in basketball. It's a difference.
That's
that is
a team thing. That's not a player thing. It's not
points
a player.
will come one way or the other.
No, that's a team thing. You
can't
can't use
that. It's going to be player scoring those points nonetheless.
Yeah, true.
Let's look at something real quick, just because I want to see.
What is the difference? Who's the 10th?
Okay.
I'm pulling up right now.
I'm looking at points per game in the playoffs.
Mhm.
15 points per game is the difference between Davion Mitchell or Aaron Nesmith and Darius Garland or Karl Anthony Towns.
Neesmith has been hooping, so I'm not even mad at that.
Yeah, it's hard to use that because him and Davion both blew up. It's hard to kind of compare them.
Maybe let me look at the regular season stuff. This would be better. Okay.
My Wi-Fi is killing me.
19 points is the difference between Desmond Bain and Christian Brown and Kuminga and Kelly Oubre.
We can use Christian Brown. The other two,
19 points is Lauri Markkanen, Şengün,
Yeah.
Sabonis, Simons, Scotty Barnes, Porzingis.
And if I could really latch on to this 4-point difference, if you look at offensive ratings, so per 100 possessions, that 4-point difference is the gap between the Knicks, which were in the regular season the 7th ranked offense with a 119 offensive rating, and the Minnesota Timberwolves, which ranked 16th with a 116 offensive rating. Matter of fact, that's not even 4 points.
So maybe the best offense in like 2010.
That's more so the difference between 7 and 19, the Bulls with a 115. So that's
Bulls were
pretty huge. Those 4 points. It's eight teams.
No, I'm screaming. Using that for teams, I get it. I get it.
That big brand.
All right. That's going to do it for our time here on the live reaction. If you guys are here, make sure you guys drop a like on the stream. If you're watching after the fact, make sure you drop a like, subscribe to the channel. We'll be here tomorrow night reacting to the 2 playoff games that are going on. Thank you for watching. Have a fantastic night, and we'll see you guys next time.